It's easy to look around and notice everything wrong in your city. In this podcast by Every Neighborhood Partnership, join Grace and Andrew as they invite friends, activists, pastors, leaders, and city workers to discover what's good in the neighborhood. Join us for insightful conversations that will encourage you to see your city and its people in a new way. Welcome back. On this episode of What's Good in the Neighborhood, we sit down with our very own board member, Darrin Person. Darrin is the executive director of community schools with Fresno Unified. And Darrin's going to walk us through what exactly is a community school and what does that mean for not only our city, but where it's also making impact across the nation when we implement a school that becomes a resource, not just for the child, but for the whole family. So Andrew and I pepper him with all kinds of questions about what that means, what that looks like, what does it mean when partners and collaborators come together to hopefully meet the needs of that specific neighborhood. So this is a good one because hopefully community schools will be around for a long time in our city. So we hope you stick with us, listen, and learn a little bit.
Welcome to What's Good in the Neighborhood. I am Andrew.
I'm Grace.
How are we doing today, Grace?
I feel great. I'm really excited about this episode.
Yeah. This is a special episode because I have at least an 8-10-year friend, board member extraordinaire of many things, but executive director of community schools at Fresno Unified, Mr. Darrin. How we doing?
It's good to be in the neighborhood, man. It's good to
that's a good. I like that.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
I may steal that. It's good to be in the neighborhood.
It's good to be in the neighborhood, man.
I love it.
Darrin has been he is just about to transition off the board of Every Neighborhood Partnership. As we got launched, you were actually really vital to EMP, to our former director, just playing connections throughout the district. I don't know, even talk about those early days.
Man, gosh, you're taking me back because, I've been on a few boards, but one that really aligned with my values and what I was believing in, not only at the time, but just who I am, was EMP. Yeah. EMP. And I remember, Artie coming into my office with this map, showing me what he's trying to do. And I was like, oh, I'm trying to do something similar.
Yeah.
And, fell in love with it. And so it was just an honor to be asked to be part of the board and be part of this journey. In life, you don't always get an opportunity to be part of things that you just really believe in. And EMP and its mission is one that just, I think is just, it's God sent. It needs to be here in our community. So yeah, I've been along for the journey. It's kind of sad that when you just said that, I'm getting kicked off, by Andrew, getting kicked off the board, man. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna spend more time with the family, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good thing. I mean, yeah, it is pretty wild though. You've seen the whole transition, right? From just an idea to staff to, now we're even sitting in a building, right?
Yeah,
it's kind of wild.
Yeah, it's been a journey. I don't know if you recall. I remember you would come in the room every once in a while, and I wasn't sure what your role was then. But I was.
Many people are not clear either now,
And I remember, just the friendships that were formed and moments that we would try to, challenge each other and the mission and so forth, and to see the transition. I would have never imagined just the building as I look out now and just in the growth. You never know, you never have a goal, or at least to me, an image of this. That's how big ENP has gotten. But that speaks to, your leadership, and it's just this beautiful place, beautiful people.
Yeah. Well, I want to hear, so you're in a new role. As we met back in those days, you had a different role within the district. But over the last couple of years now, you're in this role of community schools. And so this theme will come up a lot. And EMP is part of the, community schools work happening here in Fresno Unified. But it's not just a thing, right, that has staff. It's actually an idea. So can you, maybe get us a little sense of what is the idea of community schools, and then what is Fresno Unified doing with that idea?
Yeah, for sure. I would say when people, talk about community schools, and I was a novice too, until 5 years ago where I began to hear about work that was being done in New York and all over the country in regards to like community schools. But I never thought or imagined that I would be the executive director. I was in the world of mentoring and I was happy and wanted to stay. And, lo and behold, I've begun to hear about a grant that was coming through the state that was funding schools that, that looked, or neighborhoods or communities that, obviously that reflected like Fresno Unified, those, poverty and so forth that was in those communities. And I began to hear more and more about like this idea of community schools. And, what I've learned very quickly is just it's the idea of serving the whole child and the whole family and making that school the hub of the community, where we've done a lot with neighborhood resource centers and other areas. But why not in a school? Why not serve the family? Why not, meet basic needs? Why not involve the community? Why not include other voices as we make decisions? I think Fresno Unified, if we look at our work, we've done a lot of good and we have moving the needle in some areas, but I mean, we're not perfect, and some would say we've come up short. And when you have, and I would say we have in some areas as well, and we know we can't do it alone. So community schools is like, we need everybody. We need every neighborhood partnership. We need all our community partners, and we need the voices of those. And I would say this, and I always tell people this idea of community schools work, Fresno Unified folks have been doing it a long time. Yeah. Principals have. It's like an insult to say.
That's good.
And I hate to come to a principal and say, hey, we doing community schools. And he was like, oh, what is it? Then they hear me and they're like, oh, I've been doing that. But I haven't been doing it full time. And there comes, we've hired coordinators at each school that focuses on meeting the needs of the whole child, the whole family, welcoming all the voices and help making decisions. So that students and families could thrive. And we do that through various models. There's 6 pillars that I can talk about from what we do, but it's really around that principle of making that school the hub and meeting not only just basic needs, but mental health needs, educational needs of the families and the students.
And is the hope that each community school would provide the same resources, or would it be different based upon the neighborhood?
That's a great question. I mean, and this is where kind of ENP is one of those organizations that has helped us with listening tours and needs and asset assessments, where we look and we ask questions from our stakeholders, including our community, our teachers, our students, and our community partners, and say, what are the needs? So to answer your question, it should look differently at every school based upon the community and based upon the needs, but not based upon like an individual's thought of what a community could. Like when people talk about Southwest, they tell me this is the community. I'm like, oh, no, that's not it. And it's different than what you think and then different than how you think it looks. Yes. So we actually, we've partnered with a renewed partnership to help us to make sure we hear from our community. So then, therefore, we begin to provide services and programs. Yeah.
I get to oversee communications here. And so I've gotten the best pictures I saw this year were of like little kids sitting around tables with one of our staff members doing a listening session. Yeah. But the kid is in charge. Like those kids are sharing about what they need or what they like or what they don't like. Yeah. I loved that.
No, that's right. It's interesting because we have one school right now I'm working with. They are having like structured recess or activities or intramurals, and it kind of came from some students that was like, we're bored during, maybe the reason why we getting into it is because we got this freedom, and they didn't say that, but we know what they meant. Like, let's do something, and then we're doing some studio work at one school as well because some of the kids, I'm interested in music production. Wow. But again, we're listening to our students.
Yeah, I remember one of the sites, or one of the first 5 sites, the parents were dropping kids off super early, right? And so the school responded with actually, instead of saying, no, here's a hard line, can't happen, like we're going to use some of this resource to actually open up school beforehand, have a teacher there, that create that safe place, because kids were just, waiting 30, 45 minutes outside because they didn't have a place to go. Because parents got to work, And
you know what, Andrew, I think that's big for us because I think the struggle I've had is we want to listen, but we don't always want to act, if you will, to what we hear. And I think community schools is allowing us not only listen, let's do something about it. Because I think the community is like, oh, we do listening tours, but do we really do listening tours? And, with our partnership here, we've been able to and that takes a lot of work to be able to sit down here and see what we can do and have them even involved in the process, help us as we frame out whatever we're trying to do for our community and our families.
Is the goal of community schools to move the needle academically for students, or is the goal of community schools to provide resources?
Great question. I would say ultimately we all know, we're in the educational system. So for us, we want our kids reading on grade level. We want them doing well in math. We want them, to be thriving in those areas because we know the importance of those areas, not just for test scores' sake. If you look at our goals, we do have goals that are specifically around literacy, early literacy, and also, making adjustments to those that are behind. We have, goals around college and career readiness. So I would say, the goal has always been around there, but we recognize that we can't get there if basic needs are not being met. Yeah. And plus, we recognize that we want them to thrive in that area. A kid that's able to be, their mental health is good, social, emotional needs are being met. For me, because I wasn't a great student, but other needs were met, and it helped me survive. But I think we understand that. So ultimately, we want kids to do good academically, but we know life is so much more than just, academics.
Yeah. Yeah, my observation or kind of view of it is what we've done is sometimes we focus just on the skill of literacy and then forget that, that kid's route to school that morning was unsafe. And so that kid starts frazzled, having to run across a busy intersection, right? And so or didn't have food that morning or whatever the things are, right? So as long as we can eliminate those barriers, that creates a kid that can learn and can come ready. But community schools isn't it really not focused on primary instruction. It is focused on those secondary supports.
Exactly.
So literacy help may be a need identified at the school level or more after-school programs or summer break, winter break. Those things may come up that are enrichment activities, but they're not always the primary.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said. And I think, I always embark upon my own journey going through school and being raised in a tough neighborhood. Me and Andrew both from Bakersfield. It was on the different side.
Me too.
Yeah, Grace is from Bakersfield too.
I know. I felt good here, man. Man, I'm feeling good, man. Yeah. I like you
East
more,
side,
man.
East side.
Were you from the East side?
East side Bakersfield, Fairfax and Niles.
Okay. You went to East Bakersfield?
I didn't. I got bused to the private school across. I know.
BCHS.
I know. We've already discussed it.
I'm loving you. I like you now. And, when I was in those communities, my dad had a drug issue. We were poor. My mom worked really hard, and then where I lived, there was a lot of gangs going. Just imagine you have all this going on, and they ask you to sit down and read, man. Yeah, so it's I know it's important, but there's other things that surround us. Even us as adults, when we have all this other stimuli that come through that impact us, it's hard for us to even focus at work. Yeah. So. Of course, to a point you made, Andrew, all those needs we try to meet and then make school fun and what they learn. I wish I was a great reader when I was a kid, but, obviously as I got older, I was just reading to, get a degree. But now I'm learning to read just for enjoyment. And you see why some kids, have that joy of reading. I want them to have that joy, that I see in others. So, but you got to make sure we meet their needs.
What are some examples as you think about now the last couple of years is, you go, okay, this is a really good marker of success, or this is an example that shows what we're trying to achieve here? Do a couple stories come to mind?
Yeah, it was interesting. Earlier today, I was looking at some data about our first cohort, and it showed that, all the schools that were community schools improved in terms of attendance, right? That's not just a story, but that's many stories within that shows that kids are coming to school. They're reducing, in terms of their chronic absenteeism. And
why is that important for you? Why is that important for the district?
Yeah, important for many ways. If you ask our CFO, he'll say if they're coming to school, then we can pay for your community schools, right? But then also, and I mean, not just to say that, I think also he knows if they're coming to school and we're telling them that we want them to read, you can't read or stay on schedule if
Yes.
you're not coming to school.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, so you get behind, right? So like being there in addition to the ADA, right, being there in their seats allows us to be able to teach them, and also allows us, like even the services that we're trying to provide from mental health, our social workers, health, and we keep on going down the road, that's there for them. So that, you know, Andrew, that's one of the things that stood out to me that I was really, really happy about. I know I can't think of a bunch of other stories, but just one of the stories is one of our families and their parents. I'm always in frequent discussions with parents because parent engagement, community engagement is very important to us. And to be at some of our advisory councils with a group of parents that are saying that, you know, because this is now a community school, I now feel welcome, I now have a voice, and therefore my kid is improving. I was with a kid yesterday, and his GPA was, when we first met, it was like a 1.9, right? But he was dealing with some anxiety issues, didn't want to come to school. Not just community schools, but entire, you know, Fresno Unified. We wrapped our arms around them, provided services to the families. The mother and dad needed some mental health services. The kid was lacking in terms of basic needs and food and whatever it might be. We believe we support also to the teacher. With all that together, you know, we are seeing like this family now feel involved. They feel like it's a place that they belong, you know, and that they're being heard, which is just amazing. And I can go on and on. I mean, if those look at our newsletters and our websites, each school, we have 29, will tell you an amazing story about the impact on students and families.
At Every Neighborhood Partnership, we believe that strong, vibrant communities start with engaged, empowered residents. But to make that happen, we need your help. EMP is on a mission to connect neighbors, create opportunities for local leadership, and transform neighborhoods through education, collaboration, and advocacy. And every dollar you donate goes directly to supporting programs that make a real difference, whether it's providing land use education, elementary literacy mentoring, or healthy spaces to help kids and families grow. When you donate to Every Neighborhood Partnership, you're not just giving money. You're investing in a future where every neighborhood in Fresno has the tools and resources it needs to thrive. Your contribution, big or small, helps ensure that our communities have a seat at the table in the decisions that affect them most. So, if you believe in students excelling, community members that are healthy and whole, and our neighborhoods thriving, we invite you to make a donation today. It's simple. Just visit everyneighborhood.org or tap the link in the show notes to give. Your support helps develop the next generation of leaders like Fresno depends on it. Donate now to Every Neighborhood Partnership. Maybe you can help me answer this question or think through it better, but maybe help us understand like how community school works. Like what are the partnerships that you're creating or collaboratives that you're taking part in? And then how does a family, you mentioned like the family also needed mental health services. How would a family benefit from the partnerships that you're creating?
Yeah, right when you said this, I just had this image of literally our community school coordinator and our principal, right? So we don't want our schools to be individual focused, like, you know, community schools is just a coordinator, but in a sense, they're at the center of this hub and the work that they do in collaborating and bringing others into place. So I would say because you have a coordinator who works side by side with the principal, then who works side by side with the homeschool liaison, who works side by side with the expanded learning coordinator, I think first, that nature of that work and that collaboration together internally then allows us to, because I think our first partners are those partners within the district.
Yeah.
A lot of people would say before we even outreach, we need to get our stuff together inside, meaning like how do we work together? I heard one of our leaders say, you know, we're asset rich, right? We have resources. They're not all coordinated. And then when there are gaps in those resources, I think that's when we look out to some of our community partners because there's needs, right? And then also to help enhance what we're doing. Like for instance, since I'm a EMP lover, I mean, right? So in terms of what they're providing now in terms of literacy, right? Obviously, we have some resources. We can't meet the needs of everyone. We need a partner to work alongside of us, right? If we talk about Saturday sports program, We have after-school programs. We have resources, but we still need further content. We need something on Saturday to bring the children and families together. So there's gaps as you look at how we're made that we need other folks to be part of what we do. And it's okay for us to say that we need help. One of the things that I understand that I can't do this alone. So, and I say from that, for a family to get these services, one, we want to create a culture at a school, like anytime a family comes in, like, hey, we want a family first to feel welcome, to say, I need some additional support for Jimmy or whoever it might be for tutoring services. And they have a person that's there that can connect them to. One coordinator is one, but there's other individuals at a school that'll be able to do that.
Yeah.
But I think the first step is for them to feel welcome, We don't want them to feel embarrassed that they have needs. We want them to be equal partners. We want to change their dynamics, like we know everything, And I think that helps create that environment where they will come and receive services from us.
Yeah, I think one of my observations working with the district over all these years, right? I'm as a small community partner, I inherently don't have the resource. Like I have a little bit, I have my skills, our knowledge, the resources EMP has, but I'm gonna have to collaborate with everybody. And I spend a lot of time outside the doors of an institution. So the district is just used to being able to take care of its own problems or work within itself. And even that, obviously, like you said, could be improved. But like this is actually now a person who spends time outside of the doors of the school and is connecting, is going to meetings, is, like that. I've never really seen that. Principals want to do that. They know that's important. They just don't have time. And so having that person that actually can get out of the four walls and say, my job, if I just stayed at this school 8 hours a day, that's actually a failure because I'm not connecting to what's going on around us, Yeah. So let me, ask the harder question. So we were giving a lot of softballs here to you.
Oh, come on, man. I thought they were hard, man. I was throwing them.
Fresno Unified, major institutions, but I've definitely seen this, especially in education. There's this like, everything's a buzzword, everything's cool. And then 5 years later, that initiative's dead. It's moved on. And we just kind of go, what happened? Well, there's a bus now that we own and there's a couple programs or something, but like nothing is remaining. And that idea is a fad. Like what is that going to happen with community schools? What for that not to happen, what has to be true? I mean,
man, you do excellent.
That wasn't possible.
that was one right down, right? I go back to my experience when I started mentoring programs like 15, I don't even know anymore. 15 years ago, it was like the same thing. People said, Darrin, mentoring is a fad, right? We know it's valuable, but I don't know if it really make a difference in terms of, academics. And it's kind of the same principle. Like we know that kids need mentors, right? So when I remember this, and I remember an individual that saw me in the halls of some building, and they were like, we don't really need you all the time. I mean, it was kind of in that light, really. It kind of hurt my feelings, right? Like, we want to put you out of business. And I was like, why? I mean, I think, because if we need mentoring, then like that's a specialty like thing, right? I said, but I think it's needed. Are we going to be able to do this? No, everybody needs to mentor, right? And a lot of people were like, Darrin, how is this going to last all of these years? And for me, it's such a need. Community schools is such a need. People know it. It's up to me, as the leader to, lift up the differences that we're making. But not only me, it's up to the community. We all say this fight to be able to do this. It's not just Fresno Unified. It's not Darrin Person, Office of Community Schools. It's all of us recognizing that the whole child needs, services. So I'm very quite confident in not only in my discussions, but I know we're a data-driven, industry, data-driven world. We need to see positive outcomes to make moves. We're seeing those positive outcomes. So that gives me some confidence. We're seeing lives change. That gives me confidence. And I've seen Fresno Unified react because of my deals with mentoring when we see programs. And I don't see this as a program. I see this as a strategy. Embrace movements like this. So that kind of gives me confidence, Andrew, that it won't just be after the grant is over. Then in addition, I think we got to be strategic. So I've already had discussions in terms of how we will keep this going, and I feel really positive from those that I'm working with right now in Fresno Unified and in the community in terms of sustainability. So that makes me excited, and then plus we got 29 coordinators, 29 principals working their butts off in this work, and we're seeing the difference. So I feel good about that. But with all that said, there's always, I'll lie to you if I say I wasn't anxious sometimes,
Sure.
but I was always anxious for 15 years doing that. But I know when things are needed. I think for me, since I'm on a good rate this podcast, I can say God and stuff.
Yeah. That's all safe here.
It's all safe here. Yeah. They try to shut you down. That God is in the middle of this type of work. I do believe that because lives are being changed. So I think it's bigger than we even see it.
Well, and I was just gonna say, if we flew up 30,000 more feet on it, I would think that the hope would be that in 10 to 15 years, when this is like a solidified strategy, like you said, that we would see needle movement on the kids in foster care, right? Unemployment, like if people's needs are being met in a place that is caring about their whole family, then you will start to see impact on things like that.
And you make a great point because I said this the other day, I think we abort things too quickly, things that are good, Some things take time. I mean, the issues that we and our students are faced, if inside their families, just the cycles of dysfunction, for you to think that you're going to fix that in a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, it's just not going to happen. So we got to stick together in this type of work, and I think so. Setting the tone in that this does take time, and letting people understand that this is not going to be a quick fix. I think we look for quick fixes, and if it don't work and it look uneasy, let's go on to the next thing. Some things are just right, servicing the whole family, meeting the needs of our children, providing the services that we're providing. Some of these they just make sense. We just can't walk away from it.
I just read a quote recently in an article that said that public schools have short-term memory loss because there's such quick turnover, and even families, they'll leave in 5 years and then they're gone, and so they forget what's been done in the past or what's being done. What have we tried before? So that just speaks to there has to be someone who's saying we have to keep let's just put our head down and keep going and keep trying.
Well, and that's why EMP has so resonated with the community schools idea. When I first started, I'm like, this is what we are. This is what we believe in. This is inherent, everything, the neighborhood, the school as the hub to the neighborhood, and the genesis of transformation happening from a school. If you affect the school, it'll affect the neighborhood. That's literally how we started. And really seeing EMP all is mindset belief is we have all the assets we need. We are asset based. And that's a part of the community schools framework, right? That we need each other. Collaboration is just part of what's going to make us successful. The school, the city, the business, the church, all that together creates thriving neighborhoods, right? So if that is the only, if those mindset shifts are even the only thing that lasts out of it, I'm that's worth it. That's good work that changes every other future initiative, every other future thing. If that could be adopted, wow, man, that's worth it, right?
Well, when you speak, that spoke to me because it starts with a mind shift change. And when we talk about transformation, that's where it starts, so that gives me courage and that gives me a lot of faith. Just to hear you say that, when I think about EMP, when I think about Fresno Unified, I see the partners that are aligning along this work. So I'm man, we're all in. We're not gonna fail. Now, 15 years, I'm gonna be gone. I'm not gonna be here.
He's gonna be. What are you gonna be doing in 15 years?
I don't know, man. But
it nice,
I hope it ain't working, man. That's 6. That's what's that? 60.
You don't have to give that away.
No, man. Yeah. But
you'll be on an island.
I'll be on an island somewhere with my sweetheart Iris, and and just having a good time. And I'll probably still be involved in some ministry, but I think what we're laying down here is transformational change, and I'm just so certain that it's going to happen. I mean, it's a lot of work. I mean, when you look at school districts across our country that serve the populations that we serve, I mean, it's a tough fight, you know, but you need partners, you need community together, and that's one thing that we have in Fresno. When I travel and I speak different places, they always ask me about Fresno, and I don't say it like, you know, trying to exaggerate at all. I mean, I really feel like the spirit here is one that people that really work together and want to make a difference. There's always some sharks out there that ain't about anything, but there's people that really want to. And so, and I think with that, I mean, I just had a powerful meeting with, you know, Andrew and Carlos the other day, and the trainings that they provided our coordinators, and to see just movement, then see us pivot from different things and try to get the job done. There's no egos in the room. And it's all about like, what can we do for our community? And if we have that, I think we can see more change.
Ever wondered what makes your neighborhood unique? Or the history of your city that shapes the places you love? Well, now you can explore the city like never before, right from your own car, using the Voice Map app. Introducing Every Neighborhood Partnerships Drive Tour, a self-guided audio tour that brings your community's history, landmarks, and stories to life. As you drive through local streets, EMP's Drive Tour will guide you with fascinating insights from people, places, and events that have shaped your neighborhood. Whether you're discovering hidden gems, learning about community activism, or simply enjoying a fresh perspective on familiar places, this tour is a great way to connect to your community in a whole new way. So what are you waiting for? Tap into Every Neighborhood Partnership Drive Tour today on VoiceMap and get to know your community like never before. Download the VoiceMap app, search for Every Neighborhood Partnership Tour, and start exploring today. Fresno's story is waiting to be discovered. Hey friends, wanted to pause the episode and let you know about a training EMP is hosting here in Fresno on October 20th. It's called Love Your Neighbor, Understanding Poverty with Jesus' Eyes. It's really going to be an engaging workshop. We're going to talk about the complex causes of poverty, how Scripture calls us to respond, and whether, you know, this is a new conversation for you or something you've been involved for a long time. I think you're going to come away equipped and inspired to respond to the world in Jesus' way. So we're excited about it. Again, October 20th at the Garage Church, 6 to 8 p.m., $10 cost. You can look at our website or social media for more. Also, you can register at bit.ly, so bit.ly/ENP poverty. So that's all lowercase ENP poverty. Love to have you come. Love your neighbor, understanding poverty through Jesus' eyes on October 20th.
This is even a bigger conversation than just Fresno, but I think often sometimes we think that we're being like morally righteous when we say stuff like, well, it's the system. Yeah. Like the system is what's broken, or that school district is broken. Like this bigger entity that we can't really like hold on to, you know? You guys just went through a training recently. I'd love to hear you both chat about it, about making like essentially taking personal responsibility for change, because Andrew said this the other day, that at the end of the day, it's the kids who will suffer if we don't take responsibility. So can you guys chat about that a little bit?
You want me to start, or you want to start?
I can do a little start.
Kick it off. This is my accountability partner, by the way. We do our exercises together, so yeah.
So I, as an outside community partner, Darrin asked me to go to this meeting. It's 2 days, a Thursday and a Friday, all day, 8 to 5. I'm just like, dear Lord, how much do I love this man that I'm willing to do this? Very busy season here at EMP, but I'm like, you know what? I'm sure good things will come of it. It was called Student Outcome Focused Governance.
Yes.
Right? Like I was like, this is gonna be rough.
SOFG. I try to make it sound cool. SOFG training.
And so I go thinking this is just like about, you know, some policy stuff that Fresno Unified is trying to adopt, and there's an element of that. But really, they had a really great trainer, AJ Crable.
Crable, yeah.
And I mean, the dude's one of the best facilitators I've ever been in a room with. But his whole thing was student outcomes won't improve until adult behaviors change. And the fact that what we do as a system within the district, but really every system in our lives, is we want to blame them and think they are if they changed, everything would change.
The ethereal they.
Yes, the they. We love the they. And his thing was, a lot of us as leaders, all of us as leaders, are choosing our own comfort, our own peace, our own comfort over the things we would have to do to see kids thrive. And so because we choose to not have that hard conversation with a colleague and push them on something we know is wrong, we choose comfort, and the cost of that is the kids. And I mean, so the whole thing, it was like a 2-day integrity check, really, is like, how are you as a leader not owning the things in your life? So we did it personally. We did it with the work we do with the schools. Man, that was like, it was a real kick in the face.
It was powerful. And I invited everyone because we are now, like, our board and our superintendent, our superintendent, me and her had a conversation after one of the trainings. I was like, I would like to have a community part of this training, because we have now our 4 goals and 4 guardrails. So this organization is helping us lay down the foundation. But really what I like, it goes back to what you said about the mindset. But before you even get there and you have these goals, because everybody does goals. Everybody does some type of guardrails. But he was so, like, pointing back to, like, still, how do you change? How do you show up? Even before we talk about our goals, like, what kind of difference can I make? So, like, Andrew, man, I felt like I was at a church service, man. And every time I go, this is my second time, because I think it's a place for me to get better, not only personally, but in the work that I do. And everything, I just kept pointing back to myself. What can I change? Because I've been guilty of that, like, even internally, like, man, I got a great program. Everything's going good. I'm known. I'm doing this great work. That's the problem right there. If everybody line up, everybody, you have some things in your head like that. So you think you're bigger than you are. And really when you look at it, it's like, hey, we're still behind. Our kids are still behind. What am I doing, right? So, yeah, I left really empowered and to find ways. And me and Andrew's been doing some exercises together. This is going to make me not only a better person, but better at my job, even as executive director.
Yeah. I told Andrew he went to, like, confession. Like,
it was good confession.
No,
spiritual
seriously.
exercise.
It was good confession.
We had an activity as part of this to, like, cement the learning, and we're doing more, but we had to take, we got 25 pennies, and every time we did not hold our word, we had to get our penny to somebody. And so
this dude was done early.
For 2 days, it's just like, here's pennies, everybody around me, every project I said I would do. But the aha in it is like, I do live my life trying to please other people and like don't actually do the things I know I need to do, right? And like that, everybody has their own kind of the focus of it. But man, so much, I'm not clear on my goal and how I'm trying to make that a change for kids, that then I will change them to please everybody around me. It's like, oh gosh. So I think as you step into the work, like, what are the ways that then we, as you're driving for these outcomes for kids, for community schools, what are the ways, like, general population folks can follow along? How do they support community schools? How do they learn about them?
More about community schools.
Yeah.
There's a few ways. One, of those that want to be interested, and obviously you can go to our website, but I mean, that's not as personal, right? But all of our schools, and you can contact me, and I'll do my best to honor my word and call you back. And once I came here, I was late a little bit, and Andrew said, "You owe me a penny." I'm like, "I'm out of them. I gotta get more." But I'll do my best to inform you as much as possible. But I think we also have these advisory councils that Andrew and EMP and CCT has been working along each other, training our coordinators that they can go to learn more. I would say of our 29 schools, you see them on our website, find a school, contact our coordinators, or contact me, be part of these advisory councils that are in your neighborhoods.
Wow.
So you can not only, like, hear about it, but be involved. That's what makes me happy. Now we got a place for people to go and get involved and, let their voices be heard and give input to the principal and to the district. So I would say that would be one place to be able to do it. Me and Andrew, we were on a steering committee together as well. And not everybody's invited to that, but everybody's invited to our councils and so forth. And I think that would be a great place to learn.
That's great.
Especially in your neighborhood.
That's good. I'm excited to have you at the helm, Darrin. I think you have the right leadership, right heart, right vision. And I really do, as an outside supporter, I have kids in Fresno Unified. It's like I really want community schools to move from a program to the way the district does what it does, right? The orientation, the being of the district. Because man, if we could get behind that mindset, there's assets everywhere. We collaborate. That's going to outlive any kind of budget, budget things. But thanks for being such a core partner to us. Thanks for being a friend and longtime board member as well.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Andrew, and appreciate the opportunity. Appreciate serving on EMP, but appreciate our relationship even more. Never thought I'd be a friend with an Oildale dude, man.
I know, me neither.
Royaldale.
I mean, goodness gracious, man. My boys, I don't think they're watching this show, but yeah, I've changed. But thank you both for your work and doing this podcast. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thanks for tuning in. If you want to find out more about EMP, you can visit us at everyneighborhood.org or follow us at EMP Fresno. Every Neighborhood Partnership and this podcast exists to activate, equip, mobilize, and transform here in Fresno and beyond. If you liked what you've heard, please share and review what's good in the neighborhood wherever you listen. We'll see you next time.